Before the world awakens, before the first rays of sunlight stretch across the quiet fields and distant forests, there lies a ribbon of silver winding through the heart of a continent. Calm, deliberate, and ancient, the Mississippi River glides through the land with the confidence of something that has seen the passing of ages and remembers them all. It does not rush like the icy torrents of mountain streams, nor does it roar like the wild rivers carved through canyons. Instead, it moves with the slow patience of time itself, carrying with it the echoes of thousands of years. Here, in the soft light of dawn, the Mississippi becomes a storyteller. Its waters whisper of an earth shaped by glaciers and fire, of vast herds of animals that once roamed the plains, and of the first people who built their lives along its nourishing banks. It has been a guardian for some, a barrier for others, and a promise for many. Farmers once watched their fates rise and fall with the river's floods. Explorers dreamed of where its course might lead. Entire civilizations shaped their identity in harmony with its endless flow. From its quiet beginnings at Lake Itasca, where it emerges as a small stream winding through Minnesota's pine forests, the river grows in power and presence, fed by thousands of tributaries that drain nearly half a continent. It becomes a giant, guiding migrations, carving new lands, and shaping the destiny of millions who live along its path. To stand at its shore is to feel history beneath your feet. Every ripple carries memory. Every bend holds a story. And every stretch of water is a reminder that nature's greatest forces do not always shout. Sometimes, they whisper. Tonight, we embark on a journey, not merely across geography, but across time. A journey through the birth, the evolution, and the spirit of one of the most iconic rivers on Earth. This is the Mississippi River. Long before the Mississippi River became the colossal waterway we know today, the land beneath it was shaped by forces nearly unimaginable in scale. To understand the river's geography is to look deep into geological history, into a North America sculpted by fire, shifting plates, and the slow retreat of ancient ice. Ancient origins, sculpted by ice and time. The Mississippi River's modern path is largely the result of the last ice age, which ended roughly 10,000 years ago. During this era, enormous glaciers, some over a mile thick, blanketed much of North America. As these glaciers advanced, they scraped, crushed, and reshaped the terrain beneath them. And when they finally retreated, they released monumental volumes of meltwater. This meltwater carved vast channels into the landscape. One of these channels became the early Mississippi River. The melting glaciers also fed enormous lakes, such as glacial Lake Agassiz, that drained southward, further deepening and broadening the path that would one day become the full river system. Thus, the Mississippi is not just a river, it is a relic of an ancient world, shaped by forces that no longer exist. Lake Itasca, a humble beginning. Though its watershed spans millions of square miles, the river itself begins modestly. In northern Minnesota, within the quiet greenery of Itasca State Park, there lies a small lake, Lake Itasca. A stone path and wooden sign mark the birthplace of the river. Here, the water is shallow enough to walk across, a tranquil reminder that even the mightiest journeys begin in stillness. From Lake Itasca, the river flows southward, passing through forests, wetlands, and rolling hills. Along the way, it gathers strength from tributaries such as the Crow Wing and Minnesota rivers, beginning its transformation into a powerful continental artery, a watershed that defines a nation. The Mississippi Basin is one of the largest drainage systems in the world, covering more than 1.2 million square miles, nearly one-third of the United States. Rainfall and snowmelt from 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces eventually flow into the Mississippi through an enormous network of over 250 tributaries. This watershed stretches from the Appalachian Mountains in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, from the Great Lakes in the north to the Gulf of Mexico in the south. Few rivers on Earth command such reach or influence. Three distinct regions of the river geographers divide the Mississippi into three major sections, each with unique features. 1. Upper Mississippi River, the section from Lake Itasca to the confluence with the Missouri River. Here, the channel is relatively narrow and winding, bordered by striking sandstone bluffs and deep valleys carved by glacial waters. Wetlands and lakes define the landscape, making this region rich in biodiversity. 2. Middle Mississippi River, from the Missouri River to the Ohio River. As tributaries join, the river becomes wider, deeper, and more navigable. This section flows along major agricultural regions and is a powerhouse of transportation and industry. 3. Lower Mississippi River, from the Ohio River to the Gulf of Mexico. Here, the river becomes an enormous, slow-moving giant. Its floodplains are vast, capable of producing fertile soils and also devastating floods. The ever-changing delta. At its southern end, the Mississippi forms one of the most dynamic deltas in the world, a sprawling region of marshes, channels, and wetlands. For thousands of years, the river carried sediment from across the continent, depositing it at the Gulf of Mexico and creating new land. Yet human engineering, levees, dams, and canal systems has disrupted this natural process. Today, parts of the delta are sinking or eroding, threatening wildlife habitats and cities like New Orleans. The delta's fate is a reminder of a crucial truth. The Mississippi is not fixed. It is alive, changing, reshaping the land even as the land reshapes it. Stretching more than 2,300 miles from the northern forests of Minnesota to the subtropical marshes of Louisiana, the Mississippi River travels through an extraordinary range of climates, and with each shift in temperature, rainfall, and season, the ecosystems around it transform dramatically. This immense climatic diversity is one of the reasons why the Mississippi Basin is among the richest environmental landscapes in North America. A river that crosses seasons. At its source in northern Minnesota, winters are harsh and long. Temperatures plunge well below freezing, and heavy snowfall blankets the forests surrounding Lake Itasca. Here, the river often freezes during the coldest months, becoming a silent white corridor that slowly awakens as spring thaws the land. The region experiences cool summers and crisp autumns, forming a classic continental climate. But as the river flows southward, it enters warmer, more humid regions. The upper Midwest brings warm summers, cold winters, and a generous amount of rainfall that sustains wetlands, prairies, and dense woodlands. Then, as the Mississippi winds past Missouri and into the lower valley, the climate becomes unmistakably subtropical, marked by hot, humid summers, mild winters, and frequent thunderstorms. Rainfall and flood cycles. Rainfall patterns play a crucial role in shaping the river's identity. Large portions of the Mississippi Basin receive between 30 to 50 inches of rain annually. This rainfall does not fall gently or uniformly. Instead, it arrives dramatically. In spring, melting snow from northern states surges into the main channel, increasing water levels. Combined with seasonal rains, this often leads to flooding, an event that has both nurtured and challenged human life for centuries. Floods bring rich sediments that fertilize farmlands, but they also pose severe risks to towns and cities built close to the river. In the southern states, powerful thunderstorms and tropical systems can generate intense rainfall within a short time. Hurricanes, entering from the Gulf of Mexico, can push massive storm surges into the delta, reshaping wetlands and altering river channels, a mosaic of ecosystems. Because the Mississippi flows through multiple climate zones, the ecosystems around it shift from north to south in a gradual, beautiful progression. Northern forests. Near the river's source, dense coniferous and mixed hardwood forests dominate the landscape. These forests support wetlands filled with beavers, moose, migratory birds, and cold water fish that thrive in crisp, oxygen-rich streams. prairies and wetlands. As the river moves into the Midwest, it passes through expansive prairies once covered in tall grasses that danced with the wind. Although agriculture has transformed much of this region, pockets of natural prairie remain, providing habitat for deer, raptors, and countless insect species. Wetlands and floodplain forests become more common here, serving as vital buffers that absorb floodwaters and purify the river's flow. Southern swamps and bayous. In the lower Mississippi Valley, the landscape becomes lush, warm, and humid. Cypress swamps rise like ancient pillars from the water. Spanish moss drapes itself from the branches, creating a mystical world where alligators glide silently between submerged roots. These subtropical ecosystems are among the most biodiverse in the United States. A river that connects life. No matter the region or season, one truth remains constant. The Mississippi River acts as an ecological highway. It carries nutrients, sediments, and species across its vast length. Birds migrate along its path. Fish travel through its channels. Plants rely on its seasonal rhythms. This river is more than water. It is a living, breathing corridor of life, shaped by climate and shaping climate in return. The Mississippi Basin is a world of life, a sprawling biological treasure that stretches across forests, prairies, wetlands, and swamps. This immense region contains some of the richest biodiversity in North America. From towering hardwood trees to elusive river creatures, every part of the basin reflects the natural abundance that has developed over thousands of years. The forests that stand watch. Throughout the basin, forests play a dominant role in shaping the landscape. In the northern states, where the river begins, mixed woodlands of red pine, spruce, and birch blanket the land. These trees are well adapted to cold winters and support wildlife such as black bears, moose, snowshoe hares, and migratory songbirds. Moving south, the character of the forests changes. Oak, maple, hickory, and walnut trees form dense hardwood forests along much of the upper and middle Mississippi. Their leaves create brilliant fall displays and provide shelter and food for animals ranging from deer to raccoons to countless bird species. By the time the river reaches the deep south, the forests transform again into towering bald cypress and water tupelo swamps. These trees, with their distinctive cone-shaped knees rising from the water, offer habitat for an array of species and contribute to the atmospheric beauty of the southern wetlands. Prairies and grasslands. Beyond the forests lie the prairies, vast grasslands that once stretched endlessly across the Midwest. Although much of this land is now devoted to agriculture, the native tallgrass prairie still survives in protected areas. Here, big bluestem, switchgrass, and Indian grass rise high above the ground, providing cover for pheasants, foxes, and insects. Pollinators such as butterflies and bees thrive in these grasslands, contributing to the ecological health of the entire region. Wetlands, the living filters. Wetlands, marshes, floodplain forests, oxbow lakes, and bayous are some of the most productive ecosystems in the Mississippi Basin. They serve as nurseries for fish, buffers against floods, and water filters that trap sediments and pollutants. These wetlands support alligators and turtles, river otters and beavers, amphibians such as salamanders and frogs, a stunning variety of water birds. The Mississippi Flyway, one of the major bird migration routes in the world, runs directly along the river. Each year, millions of birds, ducks, geese, herons, cranes, and raptors use the river as a natural guide during their seasonal journeys. Life beneath the surface. Under the surface of the Mississippi itself lies an ecosystem every bit as vibrant as the world above. More than 120 species of fish inhabit the river and its tributaries, ranging from tiny minnows to massive catfish that can reach extraordinary sizes. The river is also home to freshwater mussels, some of the most endangered and ecologically important species in North America. These mussels help filter the water, removing impurities and maintaining clarity. The big icons. Animals of the basin. Several species have become symbols of the Mississippi River's wild heritage. Jau, American alligator. Found in the southern wetlands, it is a powerful apex predator. Bald eagle, once endangered, now thriving along the river thanks to conservation efforts. White-tailed deer, one of the most common mammals in the basin. Paddlefish, an ancient fish species with a distinctive elongated snout. Black bear, living primarily in forested regions near the upper and middle Mississippi. A fragile abundance. Though vibrant, this biodiversity faces ongoing threats. Habitat loss, pollution, invasive species, and disruptions to the river's natural rhythms. Yet despite these pressures, the Mississippi Basin remains an extraordinary sanctuary of life. It is a reminder of nature's resilience and the delicate balance that sustains ecosystems across an entire continent. For thousands of years, the Mississippi River has been more than a body of water. It has been a teacher, a provider, a divider, and a unifier. Cultures have risen on its banks, passed through its currents, and carved their stories into its muddy paths. To understand the Mississippi is not only to study a river, but to witness an evolving tapestry of human belief, identity, and imagination. Long before European explorers ever set eyes on it, the Mississippi was revered by indigenous nations such as the Ojibwe, the Dakota, the Choctaw, the Natchez, and many others. To these communities, the river was a living spirit. Its waters symbolized renewal. Its seasonal floods were seen as both challenge and blessing. Its endless flow mirrored the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The Ojibwe called it Mississippi, meaning Great River, a name that would eventually become Mississippi. For the Dakota, it marked not just geography, but a spiritual axis, a path connecting worlds. Tribes often gathered along its banks for ceremonies, storytelling, and trade. Every bend had a meaning. Every wetland was a place of memory. Even the animals that depended on the river were woven into myths and rituals. As centuries passed, new cultures joined the river's story. French explorers associated its vastness with divine providence, naming stretches of it after saints. Later, enslaved Africans brought to the American South infused the river with their own spiritual interpretations. For many enslaved people, the Mississippi represented something deeply symbolic, both a barrier and a beacon. Its westward territories symbolized freedom. Its currents whispered possibilities. Then came the rise of music along the river, an artistic legacy that would lay the foundation for American culture. Blues musicians in the Delta sang of suffering and resilience. Jazz musicians in New Orleans transformed the river's rhythm into sound. Writers like Mark Twain, who spent much of his youth as a riverboat pilot, transformed the Mississippi into a literary icon, a symbol of American adventure, mischief, and transformation. Religiously, the river has also been a place of baptism, reflection, and spiritual retreat. Countless communities built their towns around it, treating its waters as a sanctuary. Even today, festivals, tribal gatherings, and cultural celebrations continue along its banks, keeping old traditions alive while shaping new ones. To many Americans, the Mississippi is not just a river, it is an identity. It represents migration, struggle, innovation, and hope. It is a place where cultures meet, merge, and create. It is the spiritual backbone of the American heartland, a reminder that history is not static, but flows endlessly, just like the great river itself. The history of exploration along the Mississippi River reads like an epic, one filled with ambition, conflict, survival, and discovery. For centuries, the river served as a natural highway, guiding voyagers through the spine of the continent and shaping the evolution of North America. The first known navigators of the Mississippi were Native American tribes, who used the river as a trade route long before European arrival. Birch bark canoes, dugout vessels, and intricate trade networks connected distant regions. Goods such as copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf Coast, obsidian from the Rockies, and agricultural harvests all traveled through the river's arteries. This ancient commerce laid the groundwork for a thriving intertribal economy. The first Europeans to document their journey along the Mississippi were the Spanish, led by Hernando de Soto in the 1540s. Their expedition was grueling and often violent, but it marked the beginning of European involvement in the region. A century later, French explorers Louis Joliet and Jacques Marquette embarked on a more peaceful expedition, mapping large portions of the river and establishing relationships with local tribes. Their reports sparked widespread interest in the Mississippi as a potential trade corridor and strategic asset. In 1682, another French explorer, René Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la Salle, traveled the length of the river to the Gulf of Mexico, claiming the entire basin for France and naming it Louisiana. This moment changed the destiny of the region, setting off a chain of territorial contests between European powers. By the 18th century, the Mississippi had become one of the most strategically important waterways in the world. Control of its ports meant control of trade, agriculture, military supply routes, and settlement expansion. This significance played a major role in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, when the United States bought the vast French territory, doubling the size of the young nation and securing the Mississippi as its economic lifeline. Steamboats revolutionized river travel in the early 1800s. Their arrival transformed the Mississippi into a bustling commercial corridor. Cotton, timber, fur, grain, and manufactured goods flowed between northern cities and southern plantations. River towns like St. Louis, Memphis, and Vicksburg flourished into major economic centers. Paddle wheel steamers became icons of American expansion, their whistles echoing through vast landscapes. But the river was not only about prosperity. It became a battleground during the American Civil War. Control of the Mississippi was a central strategic objective for the Union, whose victory at Vicksburg in 1863 effectively split the Confederacy in two. The river had once united regions. Now, it divided them. After the war, navigation technologies improved. Dredging, locks, levees, and dams were constructed to accommodate agriculture and industry. Barges began transporting massive quantities of goods. Today, more than 175 million tons move along the river each year. The Mississippi became and remains the economic backbone of America's heartland. Despite industrialization, river travel retained its romantic aura. Mark Twain immortalized the era of riverboats in works like Life on the Mississippi and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, capturing the elegance, danger, and freedom of navigating the mighty waters. His stories transformed the river into one of the greatest symbols of American frontier spirit. Today, although commercial barges dominate its shipping lanes, the Mississippi continues to serve as a major route for migration, tourism, and recreation. River cruises, fishing tours, and historical excursions keep the spirit of exploration alive. And beneath it all, the river continues its ancient role, connecting people, shaping economies, and carving history with every mile it flows. The Mississippi River, for all its beauty and resilience, faces challenges that threaten its delicate balance. Centuries of development, agriculture, and industry have reshaped the river's natural rhythms. Levees built to protect communities have altered seasonal flooding patterns, disconnecting wetlands that once filtered water and nurtured wildlife. Meanwhile, agricultural runoff, rich in fertilizers, flows into the river, eventually contributing to the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, where oxygen levels plummet and marine life struggles to survive. Pollution, too, weighs heavily on the river. Urban expansion, chemical spills, and industrial waste have left their mark on its slow-moving waters. Invasive species like the Asian carp disrupt native ecosystems, outcompeting local fish and threatening ecological stability. Climate change adds an additional layer of uncertainty, bringing more intense storms, unpredictable flooding, and shifting habitats. Yet, despite these challenges, the story of the Mississippi is also a story of hope, of people working tirelessly to protect what remains and restore what has been lost. Conservation groups, scientists, indigenous communities, and government agencies collaborate to rehabilitate wetlands, reduce agricultural runoff, and implement sustainable water practices. River cleanup initiatives remove tons of waste each year, while habitat restoration programs bring back crucial ecosystems that once lined the river's edge. Innovative projects, such as reconnecting floodplains, reintroducing native plant species, and improving wastewater management, offer real solutions. Education and advocacy continue to shape new generations who understand that the river's health is inseparable from the well-being of millions who depend on it. The challenges are real, but the efforts are growing. And through all of it, the Mississippi continues to flow, reminding us that restoration is possible, and that nature, when given the chance, can heal. As the Mississippi River winds its way toward the Gulf, it carries more than water. It carries memory. It holds the stories of ancient peoples, explorers, musicians, farmers, dreamers, and all those who have lived along its shores. It reflects our past while quietly shaping our future. In its currents, we see both struggle and resilience, destruction and renewal. And as it continues its timeless journey, the Mississippi reminds us of a simple truth, that everything moves, everything changes, and everything flows. The river endures, and through its endless motion, it invites us to look deeper, listen closer, and remember.